So let's move
now
on.
that they got the formula figured out on how to make
They
people
boiled
cry,
down, yeah.
They make you cry in this next movie.
But
guys.
they at least give you a year and a month to get over it.
Yeah, I needed it. I had to go through therapy.
Exactly.
So the next movie is
Toy Story 3.
Toy Story 3, which I think when they decided to make this movie, this was always like, kind of like, we don't want to do Toy Story again. Like, we struck gold twice. Like, be careful. And, we don't want to just keep making Toy Story movies because they make a lot of money. And I think you've said this, their whole idea is, and they have their 22 points or whatever, 23 points of what a movie needs. And one of them is, why do you need to tell this story? And, this movie came out, and I remember thinking to myself, really, now I feel like, okay, this is the Disney formula. We're going to make Land Before Time 18. Like, you know what I mean? Like, here goes running it into the ground. But they don't. This movie is, again...
I would disagree with you, David.
You didn't enjoy this movie.
No, I'm not saying that. It's a great movie.
I think
It's a great movie because it's the exact same movie as Toy Story 2.
It's not.
With a little bit added.
No, it's the ending that's the different part.
Watch 2 and 3 right next to each other, and the main plot points are exactly the same.
Yeah, but I still think 3 has some unique parts to it.
It does, but like the core of the movie.
Well, it's about toys. I mean,
I'm not
there's
saying
only
like
so many...
both have toys in them. But
no. But I'm saying the idea of like loneliness and being left and being abandoned.
Yeah,
those
the
are
conflict
always
is the same. The villain is the same.
It's the ending of this movie. It's the ending of the passing of the torch. That's why this movie destroys your heart, because everybody did that. Everybody gave a toy to their cousin or their little cousin or their little sibling.
You're talking about that ending. Well, this movie had 2 endings, David.
Right. Well, I'm talking about the
and they tore out your heart both times.
I thought they're going to go Game of Thrones style with this. I thought they were going to kill.
Jump in, game over.
I thought
we're never making a Toy Story sequel again.
I mean, if you're going to do it, go the whole, Han Solo status, right? I mean, that would have had the resignation of the resonance of like, what? You can't do that.
I remember watching the movie in the theater and being like, they can't do this, right?
Right.
But then even like Woody's like, this is happening.
That's the part.
No,
this is happening.
That part when they all look at each other and they accept it.
And he closes his eyes like, all right, here we go.
Yeah.
We're done.
This is it.
No sequel for us.
No, and it's again, I think they were like, oh yeah, we made people crying up. All we got to do is the death thing. It's like
it's easy. We'll just do the same thing over again.
But it's the acceptance of the inevitable, right?
Yeah,
it's the 7 steps of like it's like this is happening. Goodbye, everybody. Like, no, don't kill. Just don't. Why? What is this? We don't need to go here. This isn't the end of the ride, and of course it's not. But the moment of this movie, and it's again, I think it's because of the time frame of this movie, and it obviously is not exactly the same time frame as me growing up, but some kid fits this perfectly. Some kid was Andy. Was Andy at the beginning of the movies, his age? Was Andy at the end of the movies with Toy Story 3, and they're making a Toy Story 4. But that moment of passing the torch, giving your toys to a significant other or somebody else down the street or whatever, everybody had that moment. Maybe not everybody, but I had that moment, and I remember.
I did too.
And it's almost like when you care about something a lot and it almost reminds me of a pet. I don't know if either of you have ever had a pet that you couldn't either have or your parents were like, well, we can't have the pet anymore or whatever, and you had to give it to somebody. And it's like...
I never had that moment, but...
I've had that a couple times, and it's just like, please be as kind and as wonderful to this. And you have no idea. You have literally no earthly idea. But it's that moment in that movie where it's the kid is having so much fun, and it's like, we're doing it again. It's the circle of... not life, but you know what I mean? Toy life of like... And it's weird to me because, the whole, part of, the toys, you guys don't get that, you know what I mean? But it's such a magnificent moment. That moment made me cry again. Because I remember that. And I remember being the care that I was like, are you the right person to take my stupid toys? Because I want you to like them as much as I do. And I would show them,
take care of them, don't break them.
Yeah, if you hit this little button in the back, it does this. And if you put this
don't
here...
move his arm this way, it'll pop off.
Yeah, exactly. And it's just like, you did that as a kid. And I think about that with board games. At some point in time, I'm going to have to get rid of some of these. Maybe not. I want to be buried with them.
No, you're not.
Bury me with the meatballs. But at some point in time, I'm going to have to hand it off to somebody and I'm going to be like, I hope you love this as much as I loved it. And I hope that, you care about these things as much as I care about it. And it's letting go. No, and that's what...
Let it go.
No, seriously. And that's what this whole movie is about. It's about, like he says, this is happening. We've got to let go of But the new characters they introduced in the Toy Story 3
Hilarious.
and they finally get Barbie, which I think originally they wanted Bo Peep to be Barbie, but they couldn't get the licensing from Mattel. I did go back and watch Toy Story 1. They have like Parker Brothers, like they have all of the old school board games in there. So I'm like, oh, they got licensing for some, and I think.
But Toy Story 2 had Barbie in it too.
Mm-hmm.
Well, maybe that's. I think it was Ken or something like that. Maybe
they finally got Ken.
Ken was the thing. First of all, Barbie and Ken in this movie are hilarious.
Yes.
Oh my god.
What was the note thing?
Oh, it was like, oh, that was so nice of Barbie to write that. And they're like,
there's like glitter on the note. It's like, oh, that's from Ken.
Yeah. Ken
and they all
great.
look at each other like,
yeah.
Okay.
It's so great. And then the
Triceratops, you're like, oh, who are you talking? Oh, that's another dinosaur. There's
yeah,
dinosaur. Don't worry about it.
Exactly. There's so many good. And the scene when they go to the daycare and the kids come in and they're slobbering all over them.
Yeah.
It's just they go it's one of those things where you don't realize all of the different scenes and events that surround toys. You know what I mean? But it's these movies, Toy Story in general, the whole thing about toys bring so much. All they're supposed to do is bring joy. That's it. That's why we make toys for kids, because kids love them and they enjoy them and they bring toys, right? Huh?
I said or adults.
Or adults. And the point is like, but they even play that up. As adults, and this is a problem that some adults have, is like, it's the collectible part of it. It's not the toy. It's not the toy part of it. Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah,
that's the whole Big Al.
That was the whole thing with Toy Story 2.
But that's my point, and that's why it's like no, and that's why the passing of the torch is so important. It's like no, the toys get to continue to be toys.
Yeah.
To be, and if like you give a kid a toy, like it's just. There's something about that, that has happened since like the beginning of time, like I think of like Caveman who gave like this cool little like rock formation to this little kid, a cave kid, and he was like
cool little stick thing, and like here you go, buddy.
And he thought it was a little dog, and it's like everybody, you know what I mean? Like that's why these movies will resonate forever, because toys will always exist.
Yep.
And it doesn't have to be the toys that they have a lot of licensed toys in this movie, but they'll always be the space alien guy, and they'll always be the cowboy,
astronaut, and the cowboy,
it doesn't matter, and that's why they will be forever. Now, again, I think in this movie, because they got the licensing of Ken and Barbie, it will last. Those help out tremendously. But again, Toy Story 3 cried like a baby.
That cool scene when Ken is he's doing the fashion show of all his different outfits, and I know the cast members were so excited about that, because there's different cast member outfits that he wore, like. That it was just a tiny little like flash, but I know cast members like went apeshit for that. So.
That's awesome. Very cool. All right, so after Toy Story 3, this is where okay, go ahead. You want to? Oh, numbers, guys. Sorry, I gotta give you the numbers. Go ahead. Tell me about the numbers, Marston.
99%. I remember this was a big deal because all the other Toy Stories are 100%. I remember when this movie came out, there was like one reviewer who did not like this movie. And they chastised him because they're like, how do you not like this movie? Everyone else likes it. And then they looked back at like his Rotten Tomato criticist, or just critics in general, because these are top critics.
Yeah, they only aggregate
and he thinks really objectively bad movies are good. So it's like, oh,
he's just a contrarian, just to be cool.
Yeah, so 99%, and then I believe this is Pixar's highest grossing movie to date.
Yeah, it is.
Budget $200 million, box office. We're in the B's, guys.
Yeah,
1.063 billion dollars.
Jeez.
Doors go like this.
Yeah, not like this.
My
not
God.
like this. They go like this. But yeah, I mean, this is where it's basically.
So after this is like, well, of course they're gonna make a fourth one.
Well, I mean, and that's. But again, they tell a good story. But right. I will say, it seemed like I think they were high on fumes. They were like, yeah, we're doing it. We can make
is right.
We can make sequels,
Gas
and they'll always.
is right.
And then they make Cars 2, which